All right. Well, we are going to be talking about arcades today. This is where the fun happens. This is the gamification layer to the training arcade. So I'm Jaime McDonald. I'm the EVP of Customer Success. And this is what we're going to be doing. I'm only staying on these slides for a second, and then I'm going to actually move over to the website to actually show you a real demo of arcades. So we're going to be talking about how you can add a nice gamification strategy to your training. You know, the whole idea behind gamification and kind of the definition of gamification is all the motivating factors that get people to want to spend more time with your content and want to learn more and want to just keep coming back because they're getting rewarded. I know if any of you were here earlier when Stephen talked, he mentioned intrinsic and extrinsic motivation. We're going to get into that in just a minute. We're also I'm going to show you how you can take your own content and align that with the learning objectives, the performance objectives, anything you're trying to get in terms of, you know, getting your sales training, your salespeople more engaged with your content, get them out there more performing, and how that's going to equate to productivity. And of course, we're showing you the software today. So let's quickly go through the training arcade games if you weren't here earlier in one of the presentations. So we kind of look at our platform as having two sides to the coin. So there's the games themselves, which really are what is the vehicle for the learning. And within that, we have 10 different game templates. And I hate to even call them templates because there's so much more than that, but essentially they are games without content in them. And your job is to take your learning material and plug that into the games. And that could be anything. It could be your questions and answers. It could be feedback and rationale about why answers were good or bad. It could be visuals, images, videos, animation, audio clips, whatever you want. And we have a variety of different game types. I'm not here to talk about the different game types today, but I will highlight just a couple. Jeopardy and Wheel of Fortune are two of the games we have. We have the official license from Sony and Jeopardy Productions for these games. We actually built them in partnership with Jeopardy and Wheel, so they're really authentic. They're very much like the TV show. If anyone just played the Jeopardy game 5 minutes ago, you got to experience that, which is really awesome. But then we have different styles of games too, like a scenarios or a detective game, which can be used for all different kinds of learning. Applying your knowledge, situational decision-making, overcoming objections. The other side of the coin is the arcades. So this is where you can actually build out your own learning ecosystem filled with a ton of different material, and your learners can participate in an arcade in a variety of different ways. They could play games alone. They can participate by looking at other activities that you put in there that aren't games, your SCORM packages, your Lectora courses, your videos, images, URLs, whatever. They can go head to head. So they can actually challenge one of their colleagues to go play a game against them, which is always fun. You can set up team game competitions. I'm going to take you through what a learning journey looks like, because we used to build out custom developed learning journeys for clients that cost a pretty penny. And now you can actually do it at a very affordable price within our arcades platform. You could build out missions. And then there's the whole side of the intrinsic and extrinsic motivation, which is allowing people to, you know, the more they come back to your platform to earn, right? They're going to earn points and achievements, and they're going to earn, you know, leaderboard status as they grow. They're going to earn prizes. And then of course there is amazing data that we collect. So I'm going to highlight a little bit of the data, but I know right after me, Katie Kinsella is going to come in and talk more about data. So again, we're just here to level up your training, and the whole purpose is to make it more engaging, get your people to really want to keep coming back and having fun and collaborating, and overall turn your trainers into rock stars. All right, so let's move over to an arcade. Okay, so for a little nostalgia, since we just played an 80s game, I want to take a gander that a lot of people on this call have been to an actual arcade. So, you know, when you walked into an arcade, you were a kid, there were all these different games and you're so excited. You go over to a game, you play it, and it spits out some tickets, right? And at the end of the day, you take all your tickets over to redeem them for some plastic toys, and your parents are trying to drag you out of there. So this is kind of like a modern day digital version of that experience, if you can kind of bring yourself back there. So what you're looking at here is an example arcade. I'm going to use the example today of a new hire.
Hey, Jamie,
training.
I don't think you're sharing your screen yet.
What?
I know you wanted to just keep us all in suspense.
You're kidding. That's strange. Hang on a second. You know what? I can't believe that I did that. So thanks. I appreciate that.
No, it's good to keep us on our toes.
Okay, so you guys didn't get to see all the beautiful web slides I was showing you here and so forth. but now you can. So apologies. All right. I'm going to start back over with what you're looking at now. So I painted the picture of an arcade. This is a digital visual version of an arcade. So what you're looking at here is a destination that can house lots of different content. Now, this is not an LMS. This is a gamification ecosystem where you can place lots of different material. And the goal is to drive your learners to this place to get a hold of all the content you want them to spend time with. So let's pretend you have just hired 50 new people in your organization, and your goal is to ramp them up really quickly with all the knowledge they need to know as they start off as an employee. So you can create as many arcades as you'd like within your account of the training arcade. This particular example just happens to be for new hires today. So all these individual tiles that you see here represent a different learning activity. Some of them are games, right? You've got this Jeopardy game and jump and trivia and match and so forth. And some of them are things that aren't games. So that's other pieces of your content. So for example, it could be a SCORM package. You can load in a Lectora course, a storyline course, Captivate. You can load in videos. You can put PDFs. You can put in URLs, which can be iframed into this experience so that you're not having them click a link and drag them outside. It stays here. You can put in images. And the whole goal by creating this environment is that every time somebody comes to the arcade and they play a game or they watch your video or they take a course, they're going to be earning. And I'm going to talk about what they earn in just a minute. The other option, besides placing an activity in here as an individual tile, is that you can build them into a journey or a mission. So think of a journey as a way to group your content together in a really organized fashion, but it's also a gated learning experience. So what you're looking at here is this mountain theme, and there are 8 stages up to the top of the mountain. You can have anywhere from 2 to 8, depending on what you want to build. But in each stage, you can also place as many pieces of activities as you'd like. So stage number 1 has 8 activities. The learner will have to do these activities in the order in which you are trying to guide them through. So for example, here's a video. If I click on this video here and then I hit play, and by the way, this is just a placeholder video, so nothing too exciting to see here. Once they finish watching your video, they're going to go back into the journey. They're going to get a check mark for completing this activity, and then it's going to allow them to move on to activity 2, which would have been grayed out until they did this previous one. In this case, it happens to be a game. If it's a game, you also can set a minimum requirement to pass if you want. We have this game set to 50%. So let's say your learner clicks this game, they play it, they get 40%. Too bad. They have to play again until they've hit that minimum threshold that you want them to get to. Once they do that, it will then allow them to move on to activity 3 and 4 and so forth. So again, you could put as many activities in here as you'd like. But what's going to happen is once the learner has completed these activities, it's going to earn them a certain amount of XP. And again, I'll talk to you about XP in a second. XP is experience points. The amount that they earn is going to be based on how they perform in the games and how much time they're spending with the other activities that are not games. Okay, so now once I do everything in stage 1, it will then unlock stage 2. Now, if I click into stage 2, you can see that I have not done these yet. There are no green check marks, but eventually when I get a chance. And, this isn't, when you create an arcade, this is something that could live for whatever period of time you want it to stay alive. It could be evergreen and last all year, and you can keep refreshing content, or it could be something that maybe you're just using for a week or 2 or a month or something like that. So when I come back in, if I'm ready to spend some time, I can go through stage 2 and play this Jeopardy game and move on to review this PDF and then so forth. Eventually, I'll make my way all the way to the top of the mountain. So again, another way to place your content in an organized fashion for the learning, make it, kind of micro learning bits. Option 2 is creating a mission. So a mission is kind of like a journey, but rather than there being multiple stops up the top of the mountain, think of a mission as like a 1-stage journey. Within a mission, you can still place lots of different content. So in this case, you could see I've looked at this PDF already. I've gone to this website. Now it's time to play this game. Once I play this game, it'll let me move on to the next activity and so forth. And eventually, when I finish all the activities in this mission, I will also earn some points. So now let's talk about the use case. Let's pretend that Johnny Smith was the one of your learners, and he logged in here and he decided that he wanted to start, doing some of these activities. Maybe he clicks on this match game. So he has 2 options. He could either hit play, And if he does, the game will launch. There'll be a start button. He'll hit play. And by the way, this is iframed into this arcade, so he's not going somewhere else. He'll hit play, he'll play a match, and he'll get whatever score he gets. Option 2, he can actually challenge one of his colleagues to play a game against him. So you can see inside this arcade in particular, there's lots of different people in here. If you have, this many, great, you can just kind of scroll through and find them. If you have thousands in here, you can also just type in their name and try to find the person you're going to challenge. So let's say I'm going to pick Brian McGinn here. If I click on Brian's name and then I click play, what's going to happen is Brian is going to get a notification that I challenged him to this particular match game. So it's not like Brian has to be here and playing against me at the exact same time. I'm going to play now because I'm free. I'll get whatever high score I can get. Brian will come in when he sees the notification from me, which could either be via an email notification. If you turn on that feature, you don't have to, or it could be in the notification section up here in the arcade. But when he has time, he'll come in and play. And when both me and my opponent have played the game, we're going to be notified who won the battle. So that's kind of a really fun way to, rather than have it be like solo play, you're going against somebody else in your organization. And you could have multiple games going with multiple challenges with different people at the same time. The third option is to play games as teams. So any of these tiles you see here that have this versus symbol on it, this represents the fact that your administrator who built this arcade has preset some of these games to be team games. So let's say I click on this Jeopardy game. The first time I come in here, I'm going to see a drop-down menu with all the teams. And when you're building this, you could have as many teams as you'd like, and you could name them whatever you want. So assuming your people know what team they're on, let's say I click East, I'm in Connecticut, I'm on the East Coast. So I would hit East, I'd hit next, and then this Jeopardy game is going to launch. I'm going to play it by myself. So technically what's happening here is these players are playing not with their team, but for their team. So I play the Jeopardy game as if it's my own kind of solo e-learning experience, but my high score will go towards my team score. And then there will be a leaderboard for this game, both an individual player leaderboard and a team leaderboard, which is really cool. Okay, so those are 3 of the ways: solo play, just to recap, head-to-head challenges, and team game competitions. Now I'm going to talk about all the intrinsic and extrinsic motivators that get people excited to want to keep coming back here. So if you look over here, you could see that I'm at level 8. When each person logs in, every time they come in, they're going to actually be able to track their own personal progress. So over here's my progress bar. I'm at 98% accuracy across everything I've done in here. Okay, that makes me happy. I'm doing pretty well. This is how much XP I've earned. And by the way, again, XP is experience points that you earn by, the more games you play, the more other activities you play, the better you do in the games, the higher the XP. As your XP grows, so does your level. And as your level grows, so does your ability to earn extrinsic motivators, right? So an extrinsic motivator could be prizes. And by the way, prizing is something you can turn on or off. If you have an arcade and you don't want to deal with prizes, you just don't think it fits what you're trying to do, you don't have to have prizes. But if you turn them on, then you also get to fully customize what the prizing experience will be. You can create different milestones that people have to hit, which equates to levels. And you could have as many levels as you want. You determine what level people have to get to in order to earn their prizes. So you could see that I'm at level 8 here. When I get up to level 10, this will unlock. And when it comes to the prizes, you can fully customize what you want the prizes to be. In this case, we said it's 100 points. Maybe you have some other point system and you want them to be able to earn some points here, and that equates to the other system you're using offline. Maybe you want it to be a gift card. Maybe it's a day off, lunch with the boss, whatever the case might be. You also can put a maximum amount of prizes at each level, which would help you when it comes to your budgeting, right? So if you only have a certain amount of budget you want to equate to what you're going to give out in prizes, maybe you want to put a max. And in this case, you see there's 25 left. If I'm the 26th person who gets to level 10, I'm out of luck. I don't actually get a prize. So it's really meant to kind of put a fire under people to come back and, not just about accuracy, but quicker than other people in order to, advance in their levels and earn more and more prizes. So that's the prizing element. Now, getting back to progress, this will also show me how many games I've played, how many challenges I've won, if people have challenged me, what my latest achievement is. So let's talk about achievements. This is another intrinsic motivator. So we have 25 possible achievements, trophies, badges, whatever you want to call them, available here. All the ones that are grayed out, I have not achieved yet, but we make it really easy for people as soon as they come into the platform for the first time to earn their first couple achievements. For example, watch the tutorial video and you'll automatically get the Smarty Pants. Set up your profile and you get this one. Play your first solo game, you get the Rookie Award. And then there's other things like log in 5 days in a row, or come in on a weekend and earn the dedicated few badge, or challenge somebody to play against you and earn this challenger badge. I have a feeling in the chat, someone's asking, can we customize these badges? Because I get that question all the time. At the moment, no, but it is something that we're looking into in the future. So there's right now 25 possible badges. Now we're going to talk about leaderboards. So leaderboards, we hear all the time. People love leaderboards, and it's really important. The best part about having a leaderboard in a game is that when a person is done playing and they see their score and their position on the leaderboard, if they're not in that top 10 and they're not happy with their position, there's a good chance they're going to hit the play again button and they're going to try to advance and get higher and higher up in the leaderboard. So think back to when you walked into that arcade and you went into Miss Pac-Man and you tried to beat, whoever the person is with their 3 initials on the top of the leaderboard. You have no idea who they are. You don't care. You just want to get higher and try to beat them. So each of these individual tiles, no matter how many activities or games you put into an arcade, they each have their own separate leaderboard. But the beautiful thing that we've created is the ability for those leaderboards to kind of all roll up into a global leaderboard. So over here, you can see that I'm in position 4 on the global leaderboard. I'm pretty happy with that. That's cool. But what if I was curious to track my progress across some of the other individual game leaderboards? All I have to do is click into this drop-down menu and check out my progress. So let's see, activity 2. Look at that. I'm in 2nd place on activity 2. That's pretty cool. Okay, what about this quick test trivia game? I'm tied. Well, there's a lot of people I'm tied with. So this is giving me an indication of how I'm personally performing. Last couple things I'm going to mention before I just kind of dive into a little bit of how you build this out yourself is that we do allow for tagging your content. So over here, you can see that we've tagged this content with different types of tags. Let's say I came in here and I was only looking for today for doing the new hire content because I just want to get honed in on exactly what I need to spend my time on today. This will allow you to pull up exactly the content specific to that need. Maybe I just want to look at the training. Maybe I just want to look at the ones that are meant for sales. And alternatively, what if you're like, you know what? I love Jeopardy so much. I actually only want to play Jeopardy games today. Boom, you can pull up by the game. Or what if you're like, I don't want to play the games today. I just want to be shown anything that's not a game. I need to catch up on my score, my courses and my PDFs and videos and stuff. So you can do that by tagging your content. You also can do user segmentation with different player lists. So if you have, let's say, all your new hires in here and you've got content you need your new hires to look at, but then you've also invited maybe some managers to this or some other people, you can make it so that certain people see certain content and others don't see other content. And then the last thing is how to make this so beautiful and on brand with your own style guidelines, right? Your own colors, your own background image can be loaded in, your own logo. You can change the entire color scheme here. You also can change the visuals of every single tile you see here, including the game. So where you see task here, this is just placeholder art. You can load in your own image and your own background color and your own title for every single activity that you see. Okay, I'm going to jump to the back end now. Now, the first thing you do when you build out an arcade is you want to build out your games. If you're planning on putting games into an arcade, which I expect that you might. So you would click on new game. I'm not going to build a game for you today. You click on the game you're going to build and you go about building your game. So let's pretend you now have a whole bunch of games built in your account. Now it's time to make an arcade. And it is just as easy to make an arcade as it is to make a game. There's no coding required. We have built this platform to be so user-friendly, anybody can do it. So here you go. You would click new arcade, and then you would just name your arcade. So let's call this user conference, and boom, there's your URL. When it comes to deploying an arcade, you really have 3 main options. One is single sign-on. So if you want to create an arcade that has all this great content in it, and you want to set it up through SSO, we can absolutely help you do that so that your account is set up that way. The other option is through direct registration. If you were doing something offline and you wanted to invite people to an arcade, you send them a link, they'll get an invite. They would set up their own username and password, and that's how they would access it. The third way is to SCORM wrap this whole thing. So I believe Stephen Bear earlier talked about the fact that you can deploy games lots of different ways. You can deploy arcades lots of different ways. And one of the most popular ways to deploy a game or to deploy a whole arcade is via a SCORM file. So you can create a very robust learning ecosystem just like this, download it as a SCORM file and load that right into your LMS. And then it will populate certain SCORM data into your LMS, and all the additional data that you would want would be available from within your account of the training arcade. So that's how you deploy a game. There's also going to be a variety of different settings that you can choose to do. For example, do you want to turn on a star rating system so you can let your people rate the games? Do you want to maybe allow the ability for people to send challenges to each other via email? Do you want to restrict the amount of XP they can earn every single day per game? That way they're not coming back all day long playing games just to earn, so that they, can eventually not do their job, right? You want them to have to do this at certain times a day. And then the other cool thing is you can also allow the system to send a weekly or a monthly automated email directly to each person with their own stats. So this is just kind of like, hey, don't forget, this is how you're doing. Make sure you go back into that arcade every, couple days or every week or so. And it's going to show them how they're progressing, what their XP is, their latest achievements, what challenges might be waiting for them, and so forth. Okay, I'm going to actually pull up an arcade, the exact arcade that I was just showing you guys, to show you a little bit more about how you build that. Okay, okay, here we go. This is the most played one. All right. So the minute you pull up an arcade, it's going to automatically default to this analytics tab. There are multiple analytics tabs here, which means there's a ton of data that you can look at. I'm going to skip that for a second. I'll go back to it. Let's quickly go to activities. So it is so easy to add a game or another piece of activity to an arcade. If it's a SCORM file, you just simply click upload SCORM and you load it in there. If it's a task, for example, a video, an image, something like that, you name your task, you pull up what it's going to be, you pull that from your, your catalog right here. And then you can also do some updates with background colors. You can pull an image in to replace this. You can set a start and end date for when you need your activity to be done. And you can also make it a feature game. If you wanted to call it out as a feature activity, I can talk to you guys about that later, because I know we're running out of time. If you're going to add a game, so not a task, not a SCORM file, but a game, you can simply put your cursor here and scroll through and find a game you want to add, or you can type in the name of the game. So let's just say, here we go. Whoops, I spelled that wrong. Why is this not coming up? All right, here we go. So here's the game. I want to add in this game called When to Call a Doctor. All I have to do is click add. Boom, that game is now in there. Now I have a few choices. I can tag that game with, different tags that I've set up if I want to. I can make it a team game if I want. I can say, teams, and then I can decide to name my teams. So let's, again, just say East, West. For sake of time, I don't have time to do that. So boom, now this game has been set up as a team game. You can also set permissions. This is where you determine which lists you're going to apply. Like, hey, I want all my new hires to see this game, but I don't want my managers, or something like that. And then you can also do your custom settings where you can, set up the start and end date. You can decide if you want this to have a leaderboard. You can change the colors and the images and all that good stuff about this. So that's how easy it is to actually add in a game. If you're going to make a journey, the journey, remember that this is the journey. This is your multi-stage learning experience with lots of different content in it. So in order to make that, you would simply click create, and then you say, okay, stage 1. Now, how many activities do I want to put in stage 1? Maybe I put in 3. So that's my setup. And then you name your activity. You decide what it's going to be. So let's say if it's a game, you just simply pull the game in from your catalog of games that you've created. Maybe it's instead, in this case, it's a PDF, and then you just pull that from your files. Same thing with all of these. And then you just, if you want to keep adding more, you can, or you can add stage 2. Title that, put your content in, stage 3, and so forth. Really, really simple to do. When it comes to missions, you're going to build a mission out exactly the same way. When you want to build prizes, again, fully customizable. You could turn prizes on or off if you don't want them. You name what your prize section is going to be. You determine how many different levels of prizes you want. You can decide right here, what do you want to put in for what the prize is going to be, what level they need to get to. You can limit how many prizes are at each level. You can customize the images for these. So this is really easy stuff to do. I know we are, how am I doing on time? Can I show a little bit of data, or am I going to be cringing on what Katie's going to be showing?
Well, you do have a couple questions, Jamie, that I would love for you to answer.
Let's do it.
Elizabeth wants to know, how will this tie into a learning management system to ensure learning is tracked within the organization?
Yep, great question. So think about it this way. If you download a single game, or you download an entire arcade like this as a SCORM file and you load it into your LMS, when the learners you assign this to go to participate with that content, what they don't know is that this is all hosted in the cloud on our servers. So the SCORM data that we're collecting from, and SCORM is limited by nature, right? But SCORM will capture certain data points like who they are, high score, level of completion, things like that. That data will flow in real time from the cloud to your LMS. So your LMS will capture in real time certain data points automatically. All the additional data that we capture, which is way more robust than what SCORM captures, is going to be available inside your account of the training arcade. So which games did people play? How many times did they play? How long did they play? Which questions specifically did they get right and wrong? Did I see an improvement from, playing this trivia game once, twice, 3 times? And the aggregate data. So if you have 100 people playing a game and you notice that there's a particular question that, 70 of them missed, well, that's a problem, right? That's going to shine a light on where there's some gaps. So all of that data will be available inside the training arcade. You can either look at it within the analytics dashboard. You can download it as a CSV file. We also have APIs that will allow you to transfer other data points. We're XAPI ready too. So, it depends. So SCORM data in your LMS, all the other data you can find in your account. I hope that answered your question.
Yeah, I think so. Okay, I'm not muted. Okay, another great question. This is from Rolanda. When using the training arcade as an integrated component of a live real-time multi-user event, is there a participant limit interface? For example, a Zoom or Teams conference with 150 participants. Could the games be accessed by all participants at the same time?
Great question. So I don't know if you participated in that Jeopardy game that we just played before, but within the library of 10 games we have, 2 of them have what we call instructor mode. That is Jeopardy and trivia. If you play the games in instructor mode through a Zoom call, for example, you can assign someone on your team to be the host, kind of like Mark was just the host of that last Jeopardy game we played. And then everybody else who's dialed into your Zoom call will be able to answer the questions. When you play it in that mode, we have a recommendation to not exceed 200 people playing at the exact same time. And that has to do with server restrictions and the servers all getting hit at the same exact time when people are responding. So if you're doing it that way, our recommendation is 200 now. We are looking to change that so that it can accommodate many more people, but at the time, that's what we recommend. If you don't have the game played via this instructor mode, but instead you have it posted, like you post a game link, let's say that's iframed into your virtual platform or Zoom, or you're not expecting people to play it at the exact same time, then we don't have restrictions. So you can have as many people playing as you'd like because they're not, playing at the exact same moment, answering every question exactly at the same time. So think about it as 3 ways to play the games: solo, with groups, which is really fun. You could send people off into breakout rooms and have them play together as teams against all the other breakout rooms, or in this kind of instructor mode. Hopefully that answered your question.
Yes, I think so. And we are over at this point.
Okay.
And hold on, I'm just trying to see if there are any additional questions. I feel like I've answered most of them, but certainly if you all have other questions, just ask them in the chat or the Q&A and we will answer them throughout the day. So just because Jamie is leaving doesn't mean we won't help.
Well, thanks for having me. I didn't get to data, but that's what Katie's here for anyway.
Yeah,
that's right. That's right,
All right.
Jamie. Thanks so much.
Signing off, guys.
Hey,
thank you,
thanks.
Jamie.
Thanks,
Yep.
Jamie is rock star over there.